We are now live to YouTube. The meeting will begin at 5.
was only,
Lucas. Yeah. Should be this calls. I gave him.
no.
That's just the first thing. I like yours better.
Let's hope that is the case.
Still trying.
Our official stream. We'll proceed. Welcome, council. Bienvenue, Anine. We are live on YouTube. Shaw, I think, is having a technical delay. No, they're good? Okay. Or sorry, Rogers TV, I should say. So we welcome everybody to the first meeting of 2025. I'd like to begin by acknowledging with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is home to Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Meeting Council. With that, Madam Clerk.
I have a motion by councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy, resolved that minutes of regular council meeting of December 2, 2024 and budget meeting of December 9, 2024 be approved.
All in favor? That carries.
Under agenda item 4, declarations of pecuniary interest, Mayor Shoemaker has declared with respect to the planning application A1424ZOP at 550 Second Line East, as the applicant is a client of the law firm. I don't have any others.
Anyone else? Seeing none.
Under agenda item 5, I have a motion by councillors Spina and Gardy, resolved that the agenda for January 13, 2025 City Council meeting as presented be approved.
All in favor? And that carries. That brings us, Madam Clerk and Council, to the We Respect Each Other video. This was put together as a collaboration between the Accessibility Committee, the City of Sault Ste. Marie, and the Soo Greyhounds. And before we put it on, I'll just pass the mic over to Councillor Vezo-Allen.
Thank you so much. I really want to thank the communications team. Both Tessa and Zoe were really instrumental in making this happen, as well with Diane from Accessibility, and all of the folks featured volunteered. So I want to thank Derek. He's also vice chair of our Accessibility Committee, Hannah, Ashton, and Carly. And this came about due to some incidents that were happening at the games where some of our folks were being called not very nice words. And while we do have signage and that we all belong, I think a video really makes an impact and puts a face to someone that deserves to be treated equally and equitably and with belonging. And I want to thank everyone for making this happen. And I'm happy to be able to share it with the broader community.
Thank you, Councillor.
In this facility, we respect each other.
We support fair opportunities for everyone.
We're all in for inclusion.
A little respect goes a long way.
Let's be each other's biggest fans. Respect, it's what we do.
Thank you, Councillor Vizuel, and thank you to the Accessibility Committee and city staff and the Greyhounds for putting that together. An important message that hopefully everyone will take heed of. Madam Clerk?
Under agenda item 8.7.1, a planning application E1324Z, 690 Black Road. There's a motion by Councillors Spina and Scott. Resolved that the report of the junior planner dated January 13, 2025 concerning A1324Z, 690 Black Road be received and that council approve this application in the following manner. Rezone the subject property from rural area zone with special exception to light industrial zone with an amended special exception 429 to repeal all existing provisions and replace them with the following new provision. Permit a repair and maintenance shop for handheld power tools, air tools, and other handheld tools. And that the property be deemed subject to site plan control as per section 41 of the Planning Act, and that the legal department be requested to prepare the necessary bylaw to effect the same.
Mr. Tenazzo, could you summarize this application for us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Subject property is on the east side of Block Road. It's about 175 meters north of its intersection with Second Line. The application requests a rezoning to light industrial to facilitate the construction of a personal storage facility. The subject property and surrounding area was designated industrial in the OP as part of the 2001 industrial land strategy. Therefore, the recommendation is to approve, and the applicant, Mr. Wolowich, is present to speak to this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tenazzo. Mr. Wolowich, anything to add to that? Welcome to council.
Hi, Council and Mayor. Nothing too much to add. In my initial rezoning, I maintained the rural zoning with a special exception for the business. After being at the property for a while, I don't think I'd like to build a home there. Just it's kind of right at that border of all the rural properties on Black Road and the more industrial side of where you're getting past Second Line. I think the storage facility and outdoor storage would be a nice buffer between the rural and the industrial, and I think that's a good option for what could be there.
Thank you. Council, any questions on this application? Seeing none, we can have a vote on the matter. Oh, no, sorry. Yes. Rusty on my first meeting of 2025. Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? And anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Okay, seeing none. Now we can have a vote on the matter. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you.
And agenda item 8.7.2, application A1424Z OP 550 Second Line East. A motion by Councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy resolved that the report of the junior planner dated January 13, 2025 concerning A1424Z OP 550 Second Line East be received, and that council approve this application in the following manner. Approve official plan amendment number 257 by way of a notwithstanding clause to permit up to 250 square meters of office space on the subject property, and rezone the subject property from medium industrial zone to medium industrial zone with special exception to include, in addition to those uses permitted in an M2 zone, office uses up to 250 square meters in size, and that the legal department be requested to prepare the necessary bylaws to effect the same.
Great. And Mr. Tenazzo, could you give us some background on this?
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. The subject property is located on the north side of Second Line East, about 300 meters west of its intersection with Great Northern Road. The site was previously occupied by the PUC and now houses a number of tenants, primarily offering warehouse services. The application seeks to permit the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, or MPAC as many of us know it, to occupy about 250 square meters of existing office space within the existing building. The recommendation is to approve, and Mr. Rosa is present to speak on behalf of the application. Thank you.
Mr. Rosa?
Yeah, I really don't have much to add to what Mr. Tenazzo said, but I will take questions if sirs have any.
Any questions from council? All right, seeing none from council, is anybody here to speak in favor of the application? And is there anybody present to speak in opposition to the application? Great. That being said, we will have a vote on the matter. All in favor? Any opposed? Good. That passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. Thank you.
Bring us to consent.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. Item 7.3, 2 12-meter diesel buses. Through you, Mayor, to, I'm going to say probably Mr. Lamming, maybe. It's more like just clarification if the buses will have bike racks installed on the front.
Mr. Lamming?
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, all new buses that we procure have bike racks on them.
Okay. That's good news since we're a bike-friendly community. And also clarification question. In the report, it says that we are going to reduce the number of passenger vans from 8 to 1. Can you elaborate? Were you planning to buy some passenger vans and now you're just going to reduce them? Or are you saying you're selling existing? Can you just verify?
You, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, given the incremental increasing cost of the 12-meter buses, we had to redeploy some of the funds that were earmarked for the vans. We've had unprecedented ridership. We just had the totals today. We're at 1.94 million rides for the year, which is one of our highest on record. And it's critical that we have the vans that deliver for our fixed routes and our on-demand service.
That's great. I just want to say well done on the increased ridership. I think since we've been on council, I think that's the highest number I've remembered. So hopefully it's trending in the right direction for some time. One last question. You said on demand. I like the on-demand service. So these vans are not going to impact the on-demand service that we currently provide?
Dear Mr. Mayor, Councillor Hollingsworth, no. We are going through a route optimization review and we're looking at various ways to potentially augment our hybrid type model that we could go forward with. And we can use conventional buses and then in the future, potentially vans.
Okay, wonderful. And then maybe down in the future, going back to that wonderful statistic that the ridership has increased, maybe down the future, in a couple months, we can have a report on why you think ridership is on the increase. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Anyone else on 7.3? Ma'am? Are you here wanting to speak on something? Oh, hang on a sec. If you want to take the microphone, Madam Clerk. No request for your delegation was received. Okay. Council, no request for delegation was received. We need to suspend the rules. Yeah, Councillor Hollingsworth will move to suspend. Councillor Spina will second a motion to suspend the rules, permit the delegation. Any debate on this? Anyone wanting to? Oh, no. Okay. All in favor of suspending the rules? That's unanimous. If you could state your name for us.
Sandra Collins.
Sandra Collins, welcome to council. Go ahead.
Yes, that on demand makes people wait for an hour and a half and then doesn't show up. And then the inspector in question screams at the other party when it's not his fault. And I've also had to wait in the cold for over an hour and a half since the on demand started.
This report to Ms. Collins is to go to more 40-foot buses because the bus routes are so well used. And there's a route optimization study, from what I understand, Mr. Lamming's response to be, that may or may not change the on-demand service to some degree. So we've heard, I think, the concerns here with on-demand. It's a common concern, I would say, not just from yourself, but across the community on the timeframes for on-demand service. And that'll be something that council will look at, I think, before the end of this year, for sure, to review.
They also make me wait with a walker 3 blocks when we just got snow. And the lady that answered got real snotty too.
Would it be possible, ma'am, for you to connect with Nicole Mayoni here, who can try and assist you with some of the more specific issues you're dealing with?
Sure.
She's right there. If you exchange a phone number with her, we can have her get in touch with you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Councillor Hollingsworth, other items on consent?
Yes, 7.6, Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund.
Sorry, before we move off 7.3, I had noted that I've said this since our ridership's been going up, but it's important to note, when I started on council, Councillor Bruni, Hollingsworth, when you guys started on council, one of the things we would hear so often is the buses are driving around empty. Why are we ordering such big buses? 40-foot buses is what we were ordering at the time. That was 10 years ago. And so we started ordering 35-foot buses. And ridership has gone up so much that we're having to cancel our orders for 35-foot buses and go back to 40-foot buses, which I think is a great news story, because demand for our transit system has gone up considerably, which means that there is better use of it and more demand for it, and more people choosing city transit. So it's a good news story, and hopefully this year, I should say, we'll be hitting that 2 million rider mark. Go ahead, Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. So again, item 7.6, Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund for People's Road Sanitary. Through you, Mayor, I believe to Mr. Rumel.
Yep.
Can we, well, first of all, I believe what you're doing is absolutely needed, and I'm glad to see that the promise will give up to, I believe, 73% towards this project. Is that right? I just want to make sure I read that correctly.
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, yes.
Okay. So if the promise is giving up to 73%, then we're obviously reliable for the rest of the amount, correct?
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, yes. 73% of the eligible costs. So for that portion, for this project, this is for the sanitary sewer portion of the overall project.
Okay. And People's Road Sanitary, why are we focusing on that, just for the viewers at home? Is it because of aging infrastructure or expanding population? Can you help me understand why the People's Road?
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, the People's Road sanitary sewer is at capacity or over capacity at certain sections. So it needs to be increased in size to handle any future development.
Okay. And my final question, we have aging infrastructure that we know that we're all concerned about. May I make a suggestion that somewhere down the road this year, can we have an up-to-date report outlining what areas are more of a concern to us and what action items we're going to take for our aging infrastructure, underground aging infrastructure?
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, we will be bringing the next iteration of the 5-year capital plan to council in June.
Okay.
We use all the information with respect to aging infrastructure, undersized infrastructure areas in town where we need upsizing to populate that plan, and that will be reflected in that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That's all.
Anyone else on 7.6? Councillor Bruni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to you to Mr. Rumi. Is there a cutoff date to use this fund?
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, I believe it's 2027. I believe that's correct. I could get back to you in an email to verify that.
So the project has to be completed by 2027.
Off the top of my head, that is the recollection.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bruni. Anyone else on 7.6? Councillor Hollingsworth, other items on consent?
No.
Councillor Bezuwelen?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'll go in order. Start with 7.2, the municipal codes of conduct, and it's just a comment with the letter from Minister Calandra. This started, I want to say 2 years ago. Both Councillor Caputo and I were there at AMO about a ground swelling, and it's a nonpartisan group called Women of Ontario Say No. They're on Instagram, and it was really about harassment and safety in the workplace. And even though as elected councillors, people don't see it perhaps as a traditional workplace, there was no mechanism for harassment. And I'm pleased with this letter. I would rather see it before the 2026 start of the next council. I'm thankful that Minister Calandra welcomed conversation about it at Roma, which is coming up next week. And I think it is long overdue. We should all have be free from harassment, and there should be a mechanism for that to take place. So I was happy to see this letter on the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Bezuwelen. Anyone else on this item? Councillor Caputo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just encourage the rest of council to have a look over what is being proposed by Minister Calandra. If you read on, there's a section there where you can leave your thoughts about the proposed legislation. One piece that I find a little off-putting myself is that the minister is proposing to, if we need to remove a member of council, it would come to the council table and that it would have to be unanimous. We've seen here when, having to discipline a colleague is not fun. And I think it's something that they could remove from our hands completely. It becomes uncomfortable, and then to also have it have to be unanimous just doesn't seem plausible. But there are other pieces to this as well. So if everyone just wants to take a read through and maybe leave their comments for Minister Calandra, I think it would be very helpful. But again, I'm thankful that at least some legislation is coming through on this, and hopefully we can see it by 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. Anyone else on 7.2? Councillor Bezuwelen, other items on consent?
Yes, 7.4, please. The extension of the downtown foot patrols.
Yep.
Just a question, and it's fantastic that they could come back with the budgetary requirements. In terms of schedule, are they coordinating when the downtown ambassadors are on foot patrol versus when they are on foot patrol, just so that there's good coverage within all times?
You, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bezel, and yes, they're coordinating the times there, and we have flexibility, so it's not a stagnant schedule, so we have varying times. And then also per season, there'd be heavier patrols during heavier events, and then when it's not as busy, lower types of patrols, but they're always available for that. And there's also a nice breakdown between CMHA type calls, police type of calls, and supervisor and general contact calls. So there was about 396 calls in 6 months for this initiative last year.
So I know, Mr. Lamming, the ambassadors are pretty much 3 to 8 p.m. and then they are all day Saturday and Sunday. Are the foot patrols able to do those night times? Like I'm thinking from, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. or that 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Are you aware of what they can do to facilitate that?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Bezel, yeah, they have 5 different shifts they can run right now to cover some of those times you're talking about, and we communicate with them to adjust as required.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad they were able to work within the budget, and it's important that people feel safe in our downtown. Our downtown's really important, and we saw that at New Year's Eve at the Plaza. It was well attended, and I think that's just an important thing for making people feel more comfortable. So thankful that they could continue. Thank you.
Anyone else on 7.4? Seeing none, Councillor Bezel, and other items on consent?
Just 7.7, the Ron Irwin Civic Center.
Yes.
I want to thank staff for coming back quickly with the report. In terms of long-term planning, is there a sort of intent to take a look at making that space on the 7th floor accessible, since there is plumbing already in place to install a washroom?
Mr. Mayor to Councillor Bezel, I think the biggest impediment is the elevator. And the elevator is driven from the 7th floor now. So in order to get an elevator to that floor, you would essentially have to build on top of it. So, in our minds, that is cost prohibitive. If that's something that council would like us to explore in the future, we could certainly engage some expertise in that area.
Okay. I'm also thinking in terms of, we approved other staff with the, in clerk's office. Could this be a space suitable for doing civil weddings, or do you think that would be something that would not be possible? Was that even a consideration? Because it is such a panoramic, beautiful space.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bezel, we did talk about it briefly. I think we have the same issues in terms of accessibility for a public function, and as well, it may not fit well with use of the space for staff, lunchrooms, and so on.
Okay. I just think in future that I think this space, and we really cherish our waterfront, that it's worth pursuing if we see funding opportunities that become available. Improving accessibility within municipal buildings comes off quite often, to kind of make this a bit of a priority, because I know with the elevator that is an issue, but I think it is such a beautiful space that could be used definitely for some smaller things, such as if we did offer wedding ceremonies up there. So, but I do thank staff and Diane from Accessibility for having a quick turnaround on this.
Thank you, Councillor Bezel. Other councillors on 7.7? Seeing none, Councillor Bezel, other items on consent?
That's it. Thanks.
Council, anyone else with items on consent? Councillor Caputo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My computer's currently restarting, so I can't dig too deep into it. But 7.1, is there a way for us to clean this up? The older council resolutions that, I think I saw one from 2018. Are those being tended to, or should we do something about them? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo. It is something that was done last year, where initial pass was had with previous CAO, and some of the outstanding items that were no longer relevant were taken off. All the items that are on the agenda now, we have staff assigned to them, and we feel we will be able to clean them up this year. You can see the due dates in each one of these items, the different quarters. So those items will be coming back to council, a number of them in the near future to address.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on 7.1? Seeing none, Councilor Caputo, other items on consent? Council, other items on consent? Seeing none. We can have a vote on the consent motion. It has been read, I believe, Madam Clerk.
It's a motion by Councillors Hollingsworth and Scott, resolved that all items listed under date January 13, 2025, agenda item 7, consent agenda, be approved as recommended.
All in favor? That carries. Council, I also should note that I am in conflict on bylaw 2025-12 as the benefiting party, I suppose it is, from the road closing 1 foot reserve assumption, sorry, is a client of my law firm. Madam Clerk.
That will, yes, to boards and committees. We've broken them down into consent motions so that we don't have to read each of them individually, but they are in groups. So I will first read the motion in response to the report of the Deputy City Clerk. It's a motion by Councillors Spina and Scott, resolved that the report of the Deputy City Clerk dated January 13, 2025 concerning board and committee appointments 2025-2026 be received, and that Council dissolve the Holiday Lighting Halloween Spirit Judging Committee and extend anti-hate committee appointments until December 31, 2026.
Council, any questions on this? Seeing none, we got a vote on the matter. All in favor? That carries.
And so appointments to boards and committees, members appointed by Council 8.8.2. I have a consent motion on it. My only, on the Dangerous Dog Committee, I now have Councillors Bruni, Gardy, Kinnock, and Scott interested, and there are 3 positions.
So Gardy is indicating his willingness to withdraw.
Okay.
That.
So that means that that one, I have a motion by Councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy, resolved that all appointments under agenda item 8.8.2 be approved as recommended. Further, that members of committees being extended continue until their successors are appointed, as there were some that we didn't get sufficient applicants for, and they have been extended.
Any questions, Council? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries.
So that brings us to 8.8.3. So those are appointments to boards and committees which are not boards or committees of council. And with respect to the DSAB, we needed 5. I have 4. I have Councillors Caputo, Spina, Vezoallen, and Zagordo.
Councilor Bruni is indicating a willingness to sit on that.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Bruni.
And then Chamber of Commerce, I have both Councillors Vezoallen and Kinnock interested in that position.
So Council will have a simultaneous recorded vote for this one. You've got paper in front of you.
So you'll remember that simultaneous recorded vote, you write the name of the councillor that you're nominating for appointment and your name. The Deputy City Clerk will collect them, and then I will read them out.
Councilor Kinnock or Vezoallen, did you want to say anything with respect to your Chamber of Commerce nomination? Councilor Vezoallen.
Oh, am I on? I just think in terms of board and committees, I do have extensive board experience and a lot of business acumen that I think would be really important with the chamber. They've been working on inclusive employment initiatives that I think definitely could use some collaboration. And I was featured at their as one of their Q&As for their International Women's Day, and I have worked with a few of their new board members previously, and I just think that with the experience that I have and with the diversity of our business community, I think I would be an asset.
Thank you, Councillor Venezuelan. Councillor Kinnick, anything to add? Okay. Deputy City Clerk will pick up our votes. Madam Clerk will read our votes. CAO will tally our votes, and I'll announce the winner.
You ready?
Ready.
Councillor Bruni, Councillor Kinnick, Councillor Dufour, Councillor Venezuelan, I think so. Councillor Scott, Councillor Venezuelan, Councillor Caputo, Councillor Venezuelan, Councillor Spina, Councillor Venezuelan, Councillor Zagordo, Councillor Kinnick, Councillor Kinnick, Councillor Kinnick, Councillor Venezuelan, Councillor Venezuelan, Councillor Gardy, Councillor Venezuelan, Councillor Hollingsworth, Councillor Kinnick, and Mayor Shoemaker, Councillor Kinnick.
6-5, Councillor Venezuelan. Councillor Gardy.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The Algoma District Municipal Association.
Yes.
Name on there. Just Scott, the alternate. Sure.
Okay, thank you. Problem solving in action here.
Sorry, under agenda item 8.8.3.8, the Police Service Board, we have both councillors Bruni and Caputo interested in that appointment. So we'll have another simultaneous recorded vote with respect to that.
Councillor Bruni, Councillor Caputo, I'll give you the opportunity to say a few words if you wish. Hopefully brief.
I'll say a few words. I've been on the police board for several years now. I've been involved in the contracts for the police, civilian, senior management. I was involved in the hiring of the police chief and also the deputy chief. I participated in working with the hub station that hopefully will be open soon. And I do enjoy the police services. Made pretty well every meeting. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Bruni. Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bruni certainly brings experience and has had, his time to leave an impact with this board. And I believe he's done that. And I would appreciate the opportunity to do the same. I think that I come from a little bit of a different lens than Councillor Bruni, and I would very much appreciate the opportunity to work alongside the newly appointed Ms. Nuala Kenny to make some changes that I think are necessary to have more of our citizens feeling represented on this board. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. Deputy Clerk will pick up our votes.
So again, your name and the name of the councillor you're supporting. Councillor Dufour for Councillor Caputo. Councillor Scott for Councillor Bruni. Councillor Bruni for Councillor Bruni. Councillor Caputo for Councillor Caputo. Councillor Spina for Councillor Caputo. Councillor Zagordo for Councillor Caputo. Councillor Kinnick for Councillor Bruni. Councillor Bezo-Allen for Councillor Caputo. Councillor Gardy for Councillor Bruni. Councillor Hollingsworth for Councillor Bruni. Mayor Shoemaker for Councillor Bruni.
Councillor Bruni is appointed to the police service. Thank you, councillors.
So
Councillor.
there's
May I make a suggestion that once this is done, can we have an email summarizing who sits where?
It's all in the agenda. It'll all be filled out in the 8.8.3, 8.8.3.4, 8.8.3.5. So all there.
and we also send a confirming.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
So that's a motion by Councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy resolved that all appointments under agenda item 8.8.3 be approved as recommended, save and accept agenda items 8.8.3.3 and 8.8.3.8.
All in, wait, no, not accept those.
Because we had those two separate,
Gotcha.
pulled and voted on separately. Yep.
All in favor?
And agenda item 8.8.4, that's nominations to boards and committees, which are not boards or committees of council, that are staff appointments. That's to the Museum Management Board and the St. Mary's River by National Public Advisory Committee. Motion by Councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy that all appointments under agenda item 8.8.4 be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Carries.
And that brings us to agenda item 9.1. It's a motion by Councillors Kinnick and Bruni. Whereas Sault Ste. Marie City Council recognizes the importance of fostering strong leadership and community involvement within our municipal government, and whereas City Council recognizes that spending decisions made by city department heads can directly impact local property taxes and other financial obligations of residents and businesses in Sault Ste. Marie, and whereas City Council believes that having department heads to live within the city limits will ensure that they share the same concerns as the residents they serve, particularly concerning budget decisions and spending. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be requested to report back to council regarding a policy on having a residency requirement within the city of Sault Ste. Marie to be negotiated into all future contracts for department heads at the corporation of the city of Sault Ste. Marie, including provision for enforcement and where necessary, if exceptions should be made. Current department heads who do not reside within the city limits shall be exempt from this requirement, provided they continue in their current position.
Councillor Kinnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My fellow councillors, every time we raise our hand to vote in this chamber, the outcome affects us, our friends, our families, and our neighbors. I believe having department heads that share in the responsibility and reside in the community is an essential part of our public service because of how vital their positions are with financial requests and delivery of services. I feel that adding this policy into future contracts would add to our accountability, transparency, and enhance the services we provide as public servants. And for everyone out there listening, if you feel that you are a great candidate for a future position and currently do not reside in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, I hope this doesn't discourage you from applying. We still want you to apply, and if you are successful, you can always relocate within our wonderful city. Thank you.
Councillor Bruni, anything to add?
Thanks.
Councillor Gardy.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I'm not going to be voting to support this. With respect, I think there's a bit of an insinuation in the motion that people who live outside of our community currently may not necessarily be doing the best job for our taxpayers and for us in preparation of budget materials. I do not feel that that is the case. So I'm not going to be supporting this. I think we want the best people that we can have for our senior positions, and if they want to reside outside of Sault Ste. Marie city limits, I don't think there's an issue with that. I obviously wouldn't support somebody living in Toronto and being our deputy CAO, but I think what we want to do is be as inclusive as we can and to invite as many qualified, serious applicants as we can. And I think this could be a bit prohibitive. So I'm going to be voting against it, and I'd encourage everybody else to. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gardy. Councillor Vizualan?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to CAO Ver. Mr. Ver, are you aware of any other municipality that has this type of requirement within their leadership and or any staff, be it union or non-union?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Vezawalan, I'm not aware of any similar type provision.
Okay. I'm also voting against this. We're really about attraction and retention, and it's really about having the best person for the job, and regardless of whether they live in the city limits of Sault Ste. Marie or live in Gooley or they live in Echo Bay or St. Joe's Island or any of the surrounding area. I don't think it reflects the commitment to the work that people do. If anything, the pandemic's taught us is how we can be fluid and work from just about anywhere. That being said, part of it was about caring about budget. Michelle, I did some digging, and our portion, sort of city operations portion of the levy, preliminary was 1.3%. And then it went up to 1.43% at the end of budget. Could you kindly walk us through who made those decisions and how we got to that raise in the levy?
Councillor Vizualan, we're really just talking about the residency requirement here.
Okay. I guess it's because budget was brought up. So we vote on the budget as city council. And I want to say I thought staff did a great job. They came in at 1.3. We ended up at 1.43 because of things that we added, not that they added. There were recommendations. So we are the ultimate authority of the budget. So I just want to kind of echo that, that's not really staff's jobs. They can make recommendations, but we make the decision. So I'm going to be not voting for this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vizualan. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have some questions surrounding this. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Fields, is this something we're even allowed to do? I guess from like a legal point of view?
It's, through you, Mayor, to Councillor Scott, it's not illegal to have it as part of an employment contract on its face. It can end up having a systemic discrimination aspect to it, and I would explain that. If the best person for the job, for example, lived in a community like Garden River, where they have a more of a connection than just say Echo Bay or something, we would require that person to leave a community that they are comfortable with, to live in a place that they're not comfortable with in order to get the job. So that would end up being systemic discrimination, but on its face, it doesn't sound like discrimination by having someone, you know, within 3 hours of their workplace, or 2 hours, sorry, 30 minutes of their workplace.
Okay, so if that situation were to ever occur, that would probably be a costly process, even just to defend it, correct?
If we chose to defend it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other councillors? Councillor Spina?
Sorry, I just want to be clear. I understood the answer to Councillor Scott's question. And as I understood it, you said, as it's currently written, it does not appear discriminatory on its face. However, in practice, if I'm understanding you right, however, in practice, it more than likely could be if it was a resident who was most qualified and lived outside of the Sioux and we were forcing them to move.
Yes, through you, Mayor, to Councillor Spina. Not only that, but the resolution also states, or the request states that if a person is now living outside of the city, they can keep that while they're still in their current position. So if I were a department manager and I applied for a DCAO position, I might not be able to get it if I lived outside city limits. I would either have to move or remove myself from the running.
Okay. So in your opinion, is this something that holds water? Is this a policy that would hold water, or a policy that would have to be abandoned? Or like you said, if we chose to fight it?
I wouldn't think we would want to fight it, to be honest. If it was a systemic discrimination matter, I don't think we'd want to be that employer.
So you giving council legal advice, would your advice be not to implement a policy such as this?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment. I think that part of our duty as councillors is to be stewards of inclusivity and welcome people into the community, welcome people into this workplace. I will not be supporting this. I think that it does the exact opposite. And perhaps that was not the intention, but when we're speaking about our neighbors, such as Garden River, who we're working to build relations with, we just approved that position for the Indigenous advisor position. I think we're being short-sighted with this, and I would want to see the best candidate possible. I also think we're really limiting talent from within when we're saying that current department heads who do not reside within city limits shall be exempt provided they continue in their current position. We have a lot of folks with a lot of talent. If they're living outside of city limits, they should be allowed to make those moves to further their careers along. And I would hate to lose those folks because they're stunted because of, living outside of city limits. So I won't be supporting this, and that's it. Thank you.
Council, anyone else? My view on it, Council, is that wouldn't be a bad idea to have staff report back on this at the very least. I'm not necessarily in favor of a residency requirement, which is really what the resolution's asking for, regardless of what the kind of balance of the resolution says. But I think Councillor Gardy made a point, which is that, he wouldn't support a DCAO living in Toronto. But right now we've got nothing that would prohibit that. I wouldn't support a DCAO living in Toronto either. And I think our neighbors in the city of Sudbury got into some difficulty with this issue, this very issue, not that long ago when they hired, I want to say off memory, a finance commissioner from Alberta or something like that. So I'm not against staff coming back to us with some parameters of what we might require. Living within a certain distance, I think Ms. Fields hinted at, might be one of the ways to get around the kind of systemic discrimination aspect that this could present. So I think this motion allows that review to be done. Because I think there is a big difference in someone, living in Gooley and in someone living in Ottawa, going for one of our department head positions. So I would support it with the understanding that that is where I would feel comfortable looking at this, and not necessarily just the town lines of our community. So with that kind of context, I would support this. With that, we can have a vote on the matter. All in favor? Any opposed? There are some opposed, but I'm not sure what the count is. 6, 4, 5 maybe?
For Councillors Gardy and Spina.
Gardy was against, and so was Spina.
So that carries 7-4 with Mayor Shoemaker and Councillors Hollingsworth, Dufour, Zagordo, Bruni, Kinnock, and Scott voting in the affirmative, and against Councillors Spina, Bezowalan, Caputo, and Gardy.
Thank you,
And
Cal.
that will bring us to bylaws. A motion by councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy resolved that all bylaws under item 12 of the agenda under date January 13, 2025, save and accept bylaw 2025-12 be approved.
All in favor?
A motion by councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy resolved that bylaw 2025-12 being a bylaw to assume for public use and establish as a public street portion of Connaught Avenue, Sharon Hill subdivision be passed in open council this 13th day of January 2025.
All in favor? Carries.
I'll get you. Assuming everybody's in the affirmative.
I think so, yeah.
A motion by councillors Hollingsworth and Scott resolved that this council now adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you, council. I know, I really think that. It's like the last time.
Say 5:55 or was that Madison?
So far.
Madison.